Mrs. Salcedo explained her story, telling him she was from the province.
"You can leave your papers here,"
he said, still smiling.
"I am in a hurry. I have a meeting in another town today, and will not be back until 5. You can come and see me then."
Marina now had to wait all day, and this endless battle to get her promotion was giving her a headache. But it could be worse in other ministries. She knew a teacher who had to pay 1,000 pesos just to move to another town. It was raining outside, so she decided to stay in the building and visit the education office, where she had friends. At 3 o'clock, she went back to wait outside Chief Lobo's office and tried to read a novel. But it did not hold her interest. The pretty girls in the office were all talking about the disco they were going to that evening. At 5, Chief Lobo arrived, and some of the girls went in and out with papers. When they had left, Marina went in.
"Ah, Mrs. Salcedo, yes, your papers are still here. I will work on them tomorrow, Saturday. Did you know I work even on Saturday?"
"No, sir."
"Well, I do."
He smiled, showing teeth yellow from cigarette smoke. He looked at his desk diary, then at her papers again.
100 pesos a month. Why, that's 1,200 pesos a year. Surely you can afford to buy me a 40-peso dinner."
"Yes, of course, sir," she said.
"Well then, my favorite Japanese restaurant is in Ermita. It's easy to find. I'll be there on Sunday evening at 7. I will have your papers all finished. I see no problem, really."
"Thank you, sir," Mrs. Salcedo said. 40 pesos! If she did not eat, she could afford the meal. She would still just have enough to buy her bus ticket. During Saturday and Sunday morning, Marina did not leave her cousin's apartment. Going out meant spending money. So she made rice cakes, cleaned her cousin's kitchen, and washed the floor and the walls in the living room. When the family came home Saturday evening, the place was shining clean, and her cousin was very pleased. On Sunday afternoon, she went out to find the Japanese restaurant. It was mostly foreigners eating there, and it looked very expensive. She would have to give the waiters something too. She must be honest with Chief Lobo. Tell him that she did not have the money, that she would give him a present later, when she had got her pay rise. From there, she went to the Manila Hotel, where in 1955 she had danced with her boyfriend, later her husband, when they finished their university studies. It was pleasant to remember those days. But the hotel had changed. It was all new inside, with thick carpets and fine wooden furniture. She saw the coffee shop, but she could not afford even 1 cup of coffee. So she sat on one of the deep, soft sofas, watching the beautiful people walking past. So, there was progress under the government's grand new plan, as this fine hotel showed. At 6:30, she walked back to the Japanese restaurant. Chief Lobo was there, his fat stomach too big for his blue jeans, and his t-shirt smelly from his unwashed body. They sat down, and all around them were the delicious smells of fresh food cooking. Marina found it hard to speak. "Sir, you know I am just a poor clerk in the province. I have only 100 pesos. Chief Lobo's hand came down heavily onto her knee and stayed there.
My dear woman, he said, we are not going to spend all that. I will just have tea and some fish. Too much food is bad for me. But making love is not bad for me. So, after this, we go to a motel. That will be no more than 40 pesos.
Marina did not want to believe what she had heard. Then she remembered office talk about the finance chief, how he behaved towards women, what he asked for. "I have 3 children, sir," she said miserably. "My oldest is married. I have a grandson, the first."
That's wonderful, said Chief Lobo. But you know, you don't look like a grandmother.
He looked at her body hungrily, and Marina felt her face turning red.
You have a good body, very nice.
"Surely, sir, with all those pretty girls in your office."
Chief Lobo laughed. "Ha! You noticed," he said. "But they are young. They need teaching. I don't want to be a teacher all the time. I enjoy beautiful older women, like you."
His hand moved higher up her leg. "I am 45, said Marina.
"But you don't look 35, he said.
She followed him to his car outside in the street. Her mouth was dry with fear. She must be good to him. The future was in his hands. She tried again and again to talk him out of it, but he did not listen. Alone with him in the motel room at last, she begged him one more time. "Sir, please. I will give you half the money I get from my promotion. I promise."
Chief Lobo looked at her in surprise. "Stupid girl," he said angrily. "It's not money I need."
He began to take off his shoes. When she did not move, he shouted at her.
"Take off your clothes!"
"My poor husband, my poor children," Marina cried softly. as he began to touch her. She was back at the apartment at 9. She took a long shower, hating Chief Lobo, hating herself, hating the world. How would it be tomorrow when she saw him again? He had not even brought her papers as he had promised. She did not sleep much that night. When morning came, she knew she must go on, finish the job. After that terrible evening, there was no battle that she could not fight. Nothing could stop her now. Chief Lobo's thick lips smiled at her when she came in.
"We will go up to the minister's office now,"
he said, standing up and picking up her papers. The minister's office was very big, with a carpet, paintings on the walls, and tall green plants in the corners. Minister Gutzmann was also wearing a brown gabardine suit, but Marina, looking at it closely, realized it was a finer, more expensive material. She had heard that the minister had a drinking problem. He certainly seemed strange this morning, either sleepy or drunk. Chief Lobo put Marina's papers on the desk, and the minister looked through them.
"Ah, Mrs. Salcedo, your promotion. I am very happy to sign these."
To Chief Lobo.
"Are there funds for this?" "Yes, sir,"
Lobo said. After the minister had signed the papers, he turned to her again.
"Mrs. Salcedo, how is it in your province? What are your problems? It's good to see someone from your province here. You know, your province is very important in our new society plan."
Mrs. Salcedo looked at him. Was the minister serious? How could he be so drunk so early in the morning? She shook her head. "We have no problems, sir."
"Come now,"
the minister said.
"Be honest. We need the truth, the facts. Only that way can we make progress."
Marina shook her head again. "Everything is fine in our province, sir," she said.
"All right, then,"
the minister said.
"But you must work hard. All of you. You must remember, we are building a new society. Progress for the people. A country to be proud of."
He seemed to be talking to everyone in the office. "Yes, sir," Marina said.
"We must all work together. Progress. Promotions are wonderful, but we must work for them. Progress."
After Marina had bought her bus ticket, she had 2 pesos left. She had made 3 meat sandwiches at her cousin's, and that would have to be enough until she got home. When the bus arrived in her town, it was past 6 and already dark. To save money, she decided to walk home from the bus station. She only had a handbag, a small bag of clothes, the gabardine material, and 2 apples. Away from the town centre, the road was unlit and rough. She and her family lived on the edge of the town, where they could grow vegetables and keep chickens. She had just turned a corner when a man jumped out of the shadows and grabbed her handbag. She held on to it as hard as she could, but the man pushed her, and she fell, hurting her face on the ground. He took the bag, and as he ran, she shouted after him, "There's no money in there! Just my papers! My papers!" But he was gone too fast and did not hear her. She stood up slowly, feeling weak and strange. She still had a long way to walk, and her legs did not want to move. It started to rain, but her umbrella was in the handbag that was stolen. She did not mind the rain. It was losing her papers that felt like a heavy stone lying on her heart. Without the papers, there would be no pay rise. She knew only too well that nothing could make Manila send copies of her papers. She would have to return to the capital, and the thought of that filled her heart with fear and misery. At last, she reached her house with the trees all around it. When she pushed the door open, her family were eating supper, and they ran from the table to greet her. They saw the dirt on her clothes, her pale face, her wet, untidy hair. To their questions, she gave no answers. And Marina Salcedo fell to her knees, the anger and misery coming from her in violent sobbing. No words of kindness, of love, no friendly touch could stop the river of her tears.